Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us for another edition of DAX Machina. Joining us from two different continents is our own Tombstone and Leon Howarth from Do It Noel's Way from outside Manchester, England. So we've got a truly international cast tonight. And my usual suspects, we've got Anthony Pitbull Canatuna, owner of the Iguanodon Extermination Services, and Steve Wildman Monrotis. Doc will not be with us tonight. Doc had a family emergency. Just kind of keep him and his family in your prayers. He had a family emergency. He has got called away. He's having to fly out of Denver International right now to get to Georgia. So I really don't want to go into a lot of details because I didn't ask his permission to talk about it on the air. But he has a family emergency, so let's just keep him in your prayers. And the other usual suspect. Robbie may not be with us because he's having internet issues. So hopefully his internet issues will resolve and we'll see him shortly. But, hopefully that'll get fixed, but we will see what goes on. So, Leon, Toombs, thank you guys for joining us. I know it's like 2:00 in the morning or something like that in England. And it's crazy.
10 to 12 here in the day. So we're pretty good. It's good. So, we just finished daylight savings at last. So,
yeah, no more for us.
Supposedly, this is the last year we're doing daylight savings.
We don't have any. No more.
Good.
We can only dream about that here. They'll never get rid of it, unfortunately.
No, same here, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know why they ever even started that in the first place. I mean, what's the difference? What difference does it really make? I mean, whether you get an extra hour at the beginning or the end of the day, you just get used to it, and then it becomes normal.
Yeah, it's probably based on them wanting to make more money, more daylight, more money. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's a quote unquote logical explanation to it somewhere, but I'm not
Robbie,
sure. Robbie's in the chat.
He says he's at least in the chat, Robbie.
Hey, man.
He's with us in spirit and in the chat.
Howdy, Robbie.
G'day.
Boys, how the heck are you doing?
Well, it's about 3 degrees here in England, and it's raining, and it's cold, and the rest of you are all sweating your whatsits off.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's actually fairly temperate here right now. It's not too hot, not too terribly cold. You guys get the opposite ends of the spectrum. Maybe if you weren't mainlining Red Bull, it might be a little more tolerable.
It's my time machine, young man.
That's his time machine. He sees through it and smells,
I thought he was drinking juice. I thought he was drinking beer when he first came on. I'm like, wow, he's drinking a beer. He's
Originally, that's what I thought too. It's like a lager or something. I'm like, no, I'm drinking Red Bull.
Just Red Bull.
It's a big one.
It drinks it by the pint now.
How else do you have
the first show we did with him, he had like a quart mug, and I thought he was drinking just a big quart of beer. I'm like, that's a man after my own heart. And then I realized that it was Red Bull.
It's very early in the morning here.
Yeah, that is true. And I appreciate you crawling out of bed at an ungodly hour just to hang around with us.
I love every second of it.
Well, one of the things that I like about having you come on is you've always got such a really cool perspective. I mean, a lot of the times we don't really think about, when we're talking about these shows, when we talk about different cryptids, we don't necessarily think about how it affects other parts of the world. But you've given me a lot of stuff to think about in my own neck of the woods. Like when you and I had that conversation about them using railways, Dogman using railways. But one of the things that I think that really kind of got me to thinking is the last time we talked, I mentioned if you thought it was possible that the Black Shuck might have actually been a Dogman, and that's kind of stuck in my head ever since then. Because from the description and the way it attacked those two churches, to me it sounds like that's what it might have been.
Yeah, it's very much a similar creature, isn't it? It's mainly the big thing over here in England is the big black dog, being on all fours or on two legs. It doesn't really matter, but the main thing is it's a great big black, huge canine. And my own neck of the woods, it wasn't very long ago I found out about an ancient story of the same kind of creature that really set me on another road, as we could say, in this strange and weird topic that we're all into. It ended up being a ancient burial ground, which is within walking distance of where I live. And people were seeing this strange creature since probably, looking at the burial ground, it's Bronze Age, which is a bit of a long time ago. But the creature they're still seeing in the parts where I live now, resemble what this writing is about. The so-called security guy of this burial mound was this huge, great big dog-like creature that looked like a cow or a bull. And they're still seeing it now, and that's the same kind of description that people are giving all over England and back in ancient times, and it's been going on forever and ever, and it'll just keep going on.
What was it they used to call them? Barrow whites or something like that?
A barrow, yeah, a burial mound, a barrow. But on my one, I think it's probably about 2 videos back on my channel, 2 or 3 videos back, I did a little video about it, explaining how old it is and what this creature is and what it looks like. And it's like I say, it's still being seen now to this very day. And you're going back 4,000 years or something like that, when it was still stuck, when it was stuck in the ground and it was left to look after that place. But yeah, it's the Black Shuck, the black dog. There's old railways named after it. We've got God knows how many pubs in England that are named the Black Dog, and they're named for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been going on since the beginning, since the very beginning.
Well, the one church that was attacked, supposedly you can still see the claw marks in the door of the church.
They're still there now. Yeah, they're still.
Have you ever been to that church?
No, I haven't. I've passed the place. When I used to be a truck driver, I've been through the town, but I've never had the time to stop or jump out and go and have a look. But yeah, it's all still there.
Well, Bronze Age really gives a perspective. I mean, that could be what, 3000 BC, depending on what part of the Bronze Age you're talking about. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's
Well, I think the more that we dig into the Dogman mystery, I think the farther back in antiquity we're going to discover it goes. I mean, some of the first known recorded sightings, the cynocephalus, were recorded by both the Greeks and the Romans from what they described as clans of these dog-headed creatures that they fought in the valleys of India and in northern Africa.
Yeah. It's as old as time, isn't it? It is. We've just got to get our heads around how long this creature, this phenomenon's been around, and just try and put it all together and put something to it. But we'll never get to the bottom of it. I don't think we will, anyway.
I don't think we'll ever completely get to it, but I think the more we dig into other cultures' lore, we start finding certain similarities. I mean, for example, let's look at Scandinavian lore. What they describe as trolls comes across very much like descriptions of Sasquatch.
Yeah. And the Native Americans over in the States, or where you are, with burial mounds and looking after, keeping that ground sacred and everything. It's a direct connection to what I was just saying. And here in Old England, it's the same thing. It's just carried on over and over again.
Tim, do you have stuff like that over in Australia?
Not really with the we've had black dog sightings and stuff like that, obviously, but it's a little different because of what the Aboriginals and that the First Nations people. There's so much stuff with the dreaming and the spiritual part of it that but for instance with me, because I've had the privilege of talking to them, and it's very hard for an outsider to kind of get in and find out secrets and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there has been some black dog sightings in that, and there has been some near actual graveyards here.
Yeah.
So that's obviously some kind of link to the same thing, I guess. But yeah, like we talked about with Dogman here, there's so much of a weird thing that there's nothing about them over here at all. Like talking to them and asking them, they go, yeah, we've heard of Dogman through stories, but there's nothing in their dreaming about it. There is something that, like, I sent you the thing, the Kinigar. You saw that? Yeah, it's like a half man, half quoll. Kind of like a were-quoll, I guess you'd call it. It's a upright bipedal. And it's said to hunt the innocents and kill them. It's evil. Like, according to them, it's bad. It hunts down innocents and kills them. And some of the time, it uses a spear as well. And if you look it up and have a look at it, it looks fairly dog-like, even though it wouldn't be because quolls aren't dogs. But it looks very like Dogman, Wolfman-like werewolf-like. So, and also, like we talked about last time with the bunyip, I actually asked about that. And since it's been described, because there's many different descriptions of the bunyip here, from a reptilian long neck thing with, to a very big dog-like creature, which made me kind of wonder after we talked about it last time. I asked about that, and it's a very good chance that could be what we have here. It could be related to the bunyip in some way.
So, that's entirely possible, because when you you look at the legends of the bunyip, there are so many similarities to Celtic mythology on that as well. I believe, what is it, the Selkie?
Yeah.
The bunyip and the Selkie are very similar creatures.
Very, very similar. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was kind of trying to figure it out, because obviously we've got the hairy man, the Junjidi, which is like the smaller ones, which can be like they can be good, mischievous, but then they can be pretty nasty too, depending on I guess like with Sasquatch and Yowie and that, depending on where they are and because they're all individuals. But yeah, it's just kind of baffling. But I'm thinking it could be to something to do with the bunyip. I've actually asked someone to speak to an elder, because obviously I don't have that privilege personally, to get back to me on that, to find out a few more things. But I'm kind of leaning towards that could be what it possibly is, since it's described a few times as being like a big canine dog-like creature. So that could be our Dogman. Because other than that, there's nothing. There's the devil dingo, but that's something completely different. That's one kind of entity, and that's like a kind of like a creator in a way. So it's not multiple. There's another thing I saw, which I dug into to see if it was real or not, and it came out to be fiction, but something to do with a serpent and having almost ghost-like dog, like dingo type minions. But from what I could find out, that was fictional, because I dug as far as I could with that. Because if that
they've often said here in the States that Dogman will operate in and around coyote packs.
Yes. Yeah. So there's no reason why they wouldn't operate around dingoes here.
Yeah. I mean, they would certainly have a common goal anyway.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Something else I found that was very weird too, because we've got the red fox here. I didn't know, because we've had like the Black Panthers, and actually I found out we have pumas here too, which I didn't know. There's been sightings of black foxes, fairly large black foxes.
Huh.
I mean, they're not common. Obviously, black foxes are rare, but there's been a few sightings of black foxes, and they've been larger than the average fox, which I found a bit weird. So maybe that could account for some sightings of things that people don't quite understand either. Because obviously they see a fox, they're like, it's meant to be a red fox.
Right.
I see a big black fox and be like, that's not a fox,
Right.
So
Yeah,
I've been
interesting.
diving head. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay, man. I've just been diving headlong into as much mythology and native lore as I possibly can to try and get to the bottom of things. But like I said, it's a slow process, and I want to show respect. So it's a case of slow going and just asking questions and waiting to hear back, sort of thing. Because there's so much that isn't spoken about, and there's over. I think there's over 200 or more tribes across the country, and they all have their different things, and they've got things to do with totems too, which is different animals represent different things for each person. So that's another thing I've got to learn about too, to find out some things. It's very interesting because with the totem thing, pretty much before someone's born, the totems kind of gives the parents an idea of what strengths and stuff they'll have before they're even born. And then when they're born, they will get their own personal totem of an animal as well. It doesn't matter. It could happen at any age, whether it be young or older. But yeah, it's very interesting.
It was
Go ahead, Steve.
It was kind of interesting. Thought was going through my head when I was listening to Leon's description about the Shuck, the black dog sightings, and how they're always seem to be connected to, or frequently seem to be connected to, like burial mounds, other spiritual places. And Tombs kind of alluded to the same thing there in Australia. Part of me is wondering, okay, are they connected to these areas because there is some spiritual connection to them? It really is linked to that land. Or is it like DA alluded to before with the national park system, are these spiritual grounds being set up to keep people away from these creatures? These creatures happen to have been there first, and then the local authorities are like, okay, well, we're going to make this sacred ground so you stay the hell away.
That's a good thought, actually. Yeah, that's a really good thought. I haven't thought of that.
I mean, have you guys noticed more than usual number of sighting reports in national parks in your areas?
Over where I and we don't really have national parks to say, apart from the Lake District and
the royal family.
Yeah, the oh God, what's the funny? You've knocked me off kilter now. Get him down the swag. Yeah,
it's that Red Bull, man. It's that Red Bull.
But yeah, the parks that we taught you that you have over in your countries is, the size of Wales. That's another country over here in the UK. So we don't really have that kind of knitting in a way. But yeah, the things that people are reporting, the things that they're seeing, there's a strong connection to graveyards for a start. I've had a couple of reports given to me about graveyards, the burial mounds, which is a newish one to me over here, like I was saying. But if like Steve was just saying, if you're going to hide something, put something somewhere that's very precious, you're going to tell everyone that guarded by a big, scary, hairy monster, aren't you?
That's right.
And it's was that monster there before you wanted to hide it there, or did someone put that creature there, or something put that creature there,
or bind it there?
This the guy with the biggest dog in the junkyard. No one goes and robs him, do they? They stay well away from that place. You don't go in there. But if some bloke down the road's got a Toyota junkyard with a load of Shih Tzus running around, you're gonna go and rob the place, aren't you? But you're not gonna get the guy down the other road, are you? So
it's not quite so easy to punt a Rottweiler.
No, there's crazy connections all around when you think about it.
Yeah. No. Agreed.
So, well, going kind of back to one of the references about Celtic mythology, what do you think about the possible connection to Dogman with the Celtic lore on Cuchulainn?
Yeah. It's a possibility.
I have some pictures that I actually downloaded that are from Australia, that were taken in Australia, of Dogman. Now, tell me if these are real or not. If you've seen these,
okay.
I'm gonna put. There's 3 of them. There's one coming up now.
Okay.
It's not that greatest picture.
Yeah, that one's meant to be a fake, as far as I remember.
Okay.
I think so too. I think it was a still from a movie.
All right.
Yeah,
There's another one.
Yeah, I've seen that one just recently, and I don't really know exactly what to make of it. Very Anubis-like looking.
Yeah,
he is.
big ears. Big ears.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
And then you got this one. I mean,
that one's hard to say. I'm not 100% convinced that one's not just pareidolia.
Right. Well,
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I could see the ears and somewhat the body, but it's hard to make out.
Yeah, it's impossible to say what that is with any degree of certainty.
But these are like the 3 best ones in Australia, that besides your buddy there. What's his name got on his farm?
John.
Yeah. Now, his stuff is good.
Yeah.
And you don't see his stuff on the internet all over the place. I don't know why, but...
No, I don't know. I know that his original ones got just taken and used by a lot of different people without asking.
Right.
Yeah.
We were like the only ones here to see him for a long time. I know he showed us DA. I mean, there was a bunch of us on here that he showed that we were blown away. He had that one looking over the top of the grass at him.
With the grass, yeah.
That was nuts. So,
it was. It's one of the best ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, and you could see that one as clear as day. I mean...
You can't tell me that was a bloody kangaroo. Like, I've seen people go, oh, that's a kangaroo. You're seeing shit. I'm like,
no.
You don't live in Australia, so shut the hell up. You don't know the difference between a kangaroo and a bloody duck.
Yeah, and that wasn't even close to a kangaroo.
That's not a kangaroo. I mean, some kangaroos, the kangaroos can get up to 8 feet. They can get big, and they're jacked, right? They have muscles and veins on muscles. You wouldn't want to fight one.
Right.
Kangaroo's just a deer that's been to prison.
That's it. It's been in the yard. He's been jacking up, But some of them can have a less deer-like-ish face, can have a longer snout,
right,
and look a bit dog-like. But no, that wasn't a freaking kangaroo.
No, you could see the hair on it too. It was long. You could see
that's right. If it was a kangaroo, the hair would be shorter and closer to the body. That hair was longer. And I mean, I think someone else I saw said it was a bloody tree kangaroo. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, he lives on the property. John knows what he's seeing when he's looking at it. So.
That's it. He lives on the property. I grew up in the bush and around farms and properties too. So we know Australian bushland. We know Australian animals. It's not a bloody kangaroo. Right.
It's like us. It's like when you ask us, hey, is that a bear or Bigfoot? No, it was a Bigfoot. Well, it wasn't a bear.
That's it. So exactly. It's not a bloody deer in cosplay. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he had some good stuff, man. His pictures, he had like 3 good pictures from his farm. And
yeah, I've been waiting to see if he comes up. Like we've seen him more, but I know he's been busy with work and other stuff too. So I don't know if he's been able to do anything. Plus, the weather here has been absolutely, yeah, it's been shit. So.
Leon, do you think there's any crossover from people that are confusing sightings of either a Dogman or one of the mysterious big cats of England? Do you think somebody might be reporting one of those as a Dogman or vice versa?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely. The same things have caught me out in the past where I've been looking for evidence of a dog man and found evidence of a big cat instead. There's a crossover to them. There's always reports of both creatures. People will say it's definitely a wolf-like creature, but then people will say no, it's a cat-like creature. But yeah, it seemed to be here in the UK, wherever you mention the big cats, you've got the crazy big dogs and werewolf-looking creatures along with them as well. But yeah, misidentified, easily done, because it is such a strange creature to be seen over here. The biggest, I think the biggest wild animal, we've got a badger over here that's that's capable of eating meat and things.
That's a bloody big badger then.
Yeah, you've got big deers, you got deer and things, but people wouldn't.
It's not wind in the willows.
No, people wouldn't get them mixed up. So yeah, you see something behind a hedgerow or on top of a hedge or whatever as you're driving along in your car. It's a big cat or it's a Dogman-like creature.
Yeah,
easily done.
Well, I would think that the more exotic the animal is, the more likely you are to misidentify it too. I mean, here in Missouri, we have black bears. I'm 46 years old. I've never seen one in the wild. If I saw one, I would be less prone to identify it correctly than if it were something very common like a coyote or, something like that. I would think you might have similar issues with, those black dogs or, pumas or whatever. We have mountain lions, pumas here in Missouri. You don't see them very often. And when you do, it's a pretty earth-shattering experience because you're not expecting to see a 120-pound cat.
Yeah. It's just like over here in England, the deer population's massive, but no one ever sees them.
Yeah, we have that here too. We have a massive feral deer population. And they're right around cities too. You hardly ever see them.
Yeah, we one of the last investigations that we're doing that ended up being a hoax. Me and a mate who comes out making the films with me, Sean. People might have seen him on some of the videos that I make. We stood talking about how we was going to get down this bit of a ravine to look for this place where a guy had seen this animal. And as we were talking, just as loud as we are now, I heard a little crickle in the woods. Looked to our right, and it was probably 20 feet away. This deer were just there looking at us like with its head like, what are these two doing? Like, so we both like looked at each other like, how are we both seeing this? And we're out there all the time looking for weird creatures, and this bloody deer was there right on top of us. We weren't ready for it at all. And this, I think the last numbers were something like 2 million or something like that in this country. There's quite a lot up in Scotland, but
yeah, we have a massive amount.
You never see them.
No. I mean, we have a ton of feral pigs too. Obviously, you do see them, but even with them, they hide really well.
Mm.
Yeah, we have
but the Razorbacks. The Razorbacks are freaking massive, but unless they're moving, they're there watching you, and they do watch you. You wouldn't know they were there until they make a noise, and those things are freaking huge. and dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have them here. We got the bears here too, like my uncle said. I mean, right here. I mean, they'll come in the backyard, in the driveway.
Yeah.
So we get to see them pretty often. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I've got a question for both of you guys, Leon and Toombs. Have you guys had this kind of situation happen where you go out to look into a sighting, or you talk to somebody about a sighting, and you discover that somebody is like trying to pull one over on you, not just hoaxing, but trying to set you up to make you look like an idiot? I've run into that a couple of times where they were deliberately trying to plant an image in my head to draw me into saying, well, this is definitely Bigfoot, so they can go, aha, that kind of thing. But it seems that I'm running into that kind of, not altogether infrequently anymore.
No, that's I've run into that a lot, especially with Dogman over here, and I have to have my bullshitometer on high with a lot of these people, because I ask them questions. I'm like, okay. Then I drop a few things, obviously, like I said, about First Nations law. And they're like, oh, well, they call them this. I'm like, okay, and where did you find that info from? And I ask them a few other questions about, head and everything else and stuff like that, and like what sort of noise it made, eyes and everything else. And it's just like, okay, you're full of shit.
Yeah, the last 6 months, I can think of two that have stuck out in my mind, which have been, I don't know if it was intentionally trying to catch me out and prove it online or whatever. I don't have a massive online following, so I can't see I'm really getting anywhere with that, but it was more of a giving themselves a name, I think. And one of them was, I think it was the last time I was on air with DA, and I mentioned about a girl who had been on a train and seen a big dog-looking animal on a bridge watching some children playing. So I looked into that, just quickly to spread, just to put it out there. She said that she was on a train travelling from Blackpool to Preston, which is, it's not very far, and she saw this animal on this bridge watching 3 or 4 children playing on a rope swing. So I looked into it, I checked out the dates, I asked her what the weather was like, I asked which way the train was going, the whole kit and caboodle before I really get my feet on the ground. And I actually found this bridge that does exist, and it's a real place, and there actually was a rope swing next to this bridge, which just showed that kids were playing out next to it. So I looked, that like got my juices flowing. I looked more into it. Now at the time, the railway system in the UK was being upgraded to a lot of it was going electrified railway, because it was still running on a lot of diesel over here. And once I'd got this information, got it all scribbled on a bit of paper and looked into it, I realised that the actual days she told me it all happened was in the middle of the electrification of the line. So the trains weren't even running. She wasn't on a train. There were no trains on the track. In fact, there was no bloody tracks, because they were changing the tracks. They were putting electricity in. So that one was, it was a fantastic story, what she told me, and it was, everything seemed to add up. But I caught her out. I didn't really catch her out, but it just became clear that they were lying, and people are out there. They will tell you anything to have the 5 minutes of fame, but we've got to be switched on. We can't just take everything what people tell us.
100%.
I had another one which I was just saying, where me and Sean saw the deer. That was a guy on a riverbank, and he was so-called fishing. he'd seen this animal on the opposite side of the bank, and it disappeared into, he said, some kind of concrete sewer system type thing. And when we finally, culvert, When we finally got down there and looked at where he was showing us, where he told us, it was a real dodgy, dangerous bit of river to get to as well. We finally got to it, and nothing added up. Nothing cross reference. Even this culvert didn't really exist. It was just a bit of a dark bush. It just nothing worked. Nothing worked that way. So that's two in the last 6 months or so, 12 months that have really stuck in my brain. Plus, you get the ones where people send in I've got people sending in photographs that they've seen this Dogman in this bush, and when you look at the bush, you can see that it was supposed to have been seen in Milton Keynes somewhere down the road, like. And when you look at the photograph, all the electrical pylons and the electrical system is not even in this country. It's somewhere in America. It doesn't exist because the street furniture, the lights and the things, just doesn't marry up. So they're out there to catch you, you out.
Yeah, that's a similar thing too. I've seen pictures claiming to be from here, and instantly, like you said, you look at the pylons and that. It's like we don't have them here.
Yeah,
that's not our landscape either. Like that's not our bush. That's not from Australia. That's not Queensland.
Yeah, you've got to think. You've got to be really switched on and really think about it and look at every angle of it.
That's it.
Because there's people out there who want to show you up and they want to
they want their 5 minutes of fame, and I think it's also they just want attention too on top of it, maybe.
Well, yeah,
there's a lot of attention seekers.
To strange things like UFOs, I can guarantee that all you guys have seen something in the sky that you can't explain, and you're along the lines that these things existed forever and ever. Now, world governments are saying that they do exist. We don't know what they are, but UFOs are out there. All the people who used to take the PISS out of people like us have all gone quiet because the UFOs do exist. They are here. They are in the sky, and it's been given the red light in the form, green light in the form of up. So those kind of people have gone quiet, and they're looking for more guys like us to try and catch out and take the mickey. They're just stood in the wings waiting for it, aren't they?
Pretty much.
It seems like to me that more and more conspiracy theories, quote unquote, are being moved to current events.
Oh God, yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're at this really weird tipping point because, like Dia just said, we've got more of the out there kind of stuff is being accepted as more mainstream. But then the flip side of that is, thanks to YouTube and modern technology, any idiot with a web camera can put something public.
Right.
All it takes is a YouTube account, a camera, and a microphone, and all of a sudden you're publishing. And you really have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt.
Well, and that's what I tell people on this show all the time is none of us claim to be an expert. Anything we're putting forward is merely theory. Unless we are able to back it up with hard data, we will not present anything as fact. These are just things we've observed, things that we believe based on our own observations. So anybody that's trying to present this as hard fact, that they know this and they're the expert on this, they're full of it because there really are no experts in any of these fields.
Yeah, I just last night I looked up some Australian hairy man yowie stuff, and I'm not going to name the site, but it's an Australian one. And in some of the description of them and their team and that, in the first, I think, 2 sentences, it goes, "Our experts." I'm like, Okay, bye-bye.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the definition of cryptid is an animal that cannot be known.
That's it. Yeah.
How can you be an expert at something that can't be known?
Exactly.
A lot of the videos I put out there, I always have to think, and double think before I put a head into it. And most of my stuff is always has the word possible.
Yeah.
Possible footprints. Possible blah, blah, blah. Because I can't guarantee. I wasn't there. I didn't see this animal make this footprint. I just know it's bloody a huge, big footprint that shouldn't really be there. So
that's it.
The possible is the words you've got to say, because you cannot guarantee any real information that's coming to you.
Right.
Even like footprints, like I said, it's got to be possible, or this could be, or because like DA just said, experts don't exist in this field. It just doesn't. It's just we're all technically bumbling along, aren't we? Try and get a bloody a line under it all.
Yeah. I think using the phrase possible is maybe something I'm going to start working in whenever we discuss stuff, because I think that's a great way to do it, because, even if you find a track in the woods and you photograph the track and you 100% found it, it's not something you put out there, doesn't mean somebody else didn't put it out there to try to throw you off. So unless you saw the animal make the track, it's just a possible track. No matter how good the fake, it could still be a fake, and we just don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I when it comes to the expert thing, which is bullshit, obviously. I think probably a better term for someone who's pretty knowledgeable in it would be well versed in it. Well versed in everything would probably be as close to what you could be as an expert, because you can't be an expert, but well versed would probably be a good term. If you've done a lot of research and you've done a lot of stuff, that's well versed. I think it'd probably be the closest thing you could have to it, really, without sounding like a douche.
I was answering a question. And something that has something else I've come to notice is, since there are no experts, nobody really can get together on what they think their theory is. The problem is we're running into a lot of channels and a lot of researchers that will basically just ostracize you if you don't believe just the way they do. I mean, we've kind of been no bones about it on this show. We here, especially in the last year, we look for a logical explanation. Like when we have Robbie on, Robbie's a trained tracker. We talked about track evidence. We talked about creatures backtracking. I got you. But we also look for possible explanations on why tracks just disappear in the middle of a field. Just because we don't necessarily agree with some of these points of view, there are some channels out there that have thrown some pretty serious shade in my direction because I don't believe their specific way. Yeah. But I'm not saying that some of that other stuff that they refer to as the woo isn't possible. I'm just saying that there could be a far more logical terrestrial explanation without jumping to it was aliens, it was a portal, it was invisibility. Yeah. Because when you start ascribing these traits to cryptids, you cannot demonstrate anywhere else in the animal community where anything else on this planet does that. So, why would we jump to that immediately? Why wouldn't we not look for possible explanations, like the clear hair shafts that more and more researchers are finding, like the ability to backtrack on your tracks, which we know Special Forces troops are trained how to do.
Doug Highcheck even proved it with the hair shafts, and this guy has been doing documentaries, TV shows.
Yeah, he's the guy that produced Monster Quest of all things.
Exactly.
I mean, he proved it with the hair, and his credibility in the field. People are still questioning him. Like, how do you know that? I mean, what else runs around the woods that has clear hair shafts besides a polar bear? Well, we don't have them in Florida.
No, there's no polar bear south of the Arctic Circle, pretty much.
No.
We don't have them here
also,
either, so.
MK Davis had brought video showed us videos of the clear hair shafts that he brought on the show. Right. I mean, so this is something this isn't just one or two people in Florida are spotting this. This is being spotted by researchers across the country, that they're noting these clear hair shafts, which is a natural blending ability. So it's a far easier pill to swallow, especially when we're trying to get the scientific community to even give this field any credibility whatsoever, to say, hey, we think it's this clear hair shaft, or that it's smart enough to backtrack on its tracks before we start involving any of the out there theories, because then the scientific community just immediately just goes, oh, yep, they're crazy.
Look what they did to what's her name? They crucified her with the DNA. Mm-hmm. Okay, and there's I mean, you got a woman that does DNA that also did the DNA on 9/11 on the bodies. Why would she ruin her credit in that field and come forth and say, hey, this is what I have. This is what's going on. We don't know what the male DNA is, but we will find out. And they crucified this woman. I mean, they wrote her off.
Yeah, they went right after her.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and Doug made a good point on the other show with the handprints, with the
oils.
The oils and the waxes. You're going to be able to pull up DNA out of that and get the chondral DNA that the male is carrying right off from the oil.
Yeah.
I mean, but, somebody will come out and say, oh, yeah, he's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's the same thing DA was saying. They want you to believe what they want you to believe, because that's what they believe in.
Yeah, they want their narrative to be the only one.
And that's been a problem in this community for a long time. There's people will get to arguing over theories. I mean, and I will be the first one to admit that what we are talking about, what we put forth on this show, is theory. We could be 100% wrong, or we could be right. Or we could be partially right, or we could be, 10% right. We don't know. It's all theory. But the more we backfight and argue amongst ourselves, the worse this field looks when it tries to get any kind of credibility whatsoever.
Yep.
So I'm 100% on board. I support you in whatever theory you believe in. Whatever your research is taking you. But give other researchers the same respect. Just because you've experienced something doesn't mean they have. You can't make everybody's theory fit yours.
It's the same thing with the red circles.
Right.
I don't see. It's like people send DAs, people send me stuff, and they go, "Look, you see it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." Which I don't. And I'm going to be honest. I'm not. And even DA said it. You're not going to throw something up on the podcast, and then, I could go in my backyard right now and take a picture of a bush and go, "Do you see the Bigfoot?" And half of the people in the chat would go, "Oh yeah, I see it." No, there's nothing there.
It's like when I sent you those pictures of when me and the wife went out on the walk, DA. We made that same comment of all those pictures I took of the bush and everything. If I put them up and say, check this out, and didn't say anything, I would get comments like, oh my God, did you see that?
Right.
Do you see that behind there?
Right.
And although you did get some really good photos of that kookaburra.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and then people claim, this is what gets me, and I'm sorry, DA, when they claim that they actually hang out with these creatures, okay, and they interact with these creatures, where's the photos?
The problem is great claims require great proof.
Right. Where's the
proof? The more outlandish the claim is going to require great proof.
Yep.
So I know a few people that have made those statements that they are part of a clan, or they talk to Bigfoot all the time. The thing about it is is generally whenever it comes time to say, hey, how come you don't have any pictures? They're like, oh, they don't like getting their pictures taken or whatever. And I'm not saying they're making it up. I'm just saying if you're going to make that level of claim, you've got to be able to back it up.
Show
I don't,
in some way,
I don't make, I don't make any claims like that because I don't have that kind of rapport. I don't have that kind of photographic evidence. But those things, I know these things are out there. I think every one of us here in this panel tonight know they're out there.
Right.
The thing is the level of proof is still way beyond our ability to reach.
Right.
Yeah.
Even the mind speak. I've never had anything. I never had it mind speak. I've seen it one time.
Yeah.
Never had a mind speak. I never had what do they call it? Infrasound thrown at me. I've never had that, so I can't say it's not true.
Yeah, same.
It might be. We know animals have infrasound that do it. Elephants, tigers. I don't know, but my encounter was at 150 to 200 yards away, looking through a scope. That's what I seen. I know what I seen. The same thing with DA. He's never had that happen to him, and his encounter was closer. Robbie's DNA, he had it when he was a kid, came right up to the window. He never had it happen. So I can't say it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
When it does, I'll be the first one, and DA will tell you. I'll be like, hey, man, I'll call DA, be like, bro, it's true.
Yeah.
It happened to me. I shit myself out in the woods because this thing hit me with infrasound. I'll tell you. I'll be like, yeah. But, it might be true. It might not be true. Does it affect electronics and cameras? From what I've seen, yes, it does.
I have experienced in the field strange drains on equipment.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's paranormal related. I don't know if that's related to cryptids, but I have had equipment just go dead for no reason.
Magnetic fields. Now I know out here in the swamp areas, and there's a lot of magnetic fields. A lot of crossovers. You go anywhere in the swamp, you're going to pick it up on your reader. Okay, it'll spike in certain areas. I mean, that could be from anything from under the ground or what's around you. I mean, our power lines over here in Florida run above ground on big power line surges.
Yeah,
especially out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're going to get a big spike. You can hear them buzzing. I don't know how true it is. So, I mean, have you guys experienced any of that stuff down in Australia or England?
I have myself. One of the videos I made where it was a James Brindley tunnel. It was dug out in 1752. But that was the picture DA put up a while ago, and it was a tunnel with metal bars over it. Yeah. In that video itself, I do explain we've got 3 cameras running. We've got 2. I've got one here actually. 2 action Osimo type things running, and a Canon. Can't remember what the Canon was running now. Spiro had his Canon, whatever it was, but there were 3 cameras. When I came home and I went to edit the whole thing, in that tunnel and in that area, we had pops, crackles, audio disappeared, frames were dropped. It was the weirdest place I've ever filmed in my life. It was really we didn't find any evidence in there, but the place was so strange. It was so weird. A lot of people said, maybe it's nuclear isotopes and things like that, that are in the rocks, but I don't know.
Like here in Florida, we have a lot of aquifers, and Mike made a good point. Water does make a conduction with magnetic fields. Mm-hmm. So, especially out in the swamp, there's tons of water underneath.
Well, this whole tunnel had a stream running through the middle of it, through the middle of all this stone. But yeah, weird stuff. I've never had any battery draining, but the one that, like I said, the one that sticks out in my brain more than anything is the one in that tunnel. It was proper weird stuff.
Yeah, you can't explain that. Can't explain that stuff. That's the weird thing. Yeah.
Well, I know they say that limestone, because it has such a high concentration of, is it, Steve? What is it? Is that in limestone? Is it quartz or is it gypsum?
Well, as far as like the electrolytic stuff, it's full of calcium. Calcium carries an electric charge. That's part of how our heart works, is calcium ions, and so you get a weird electrical current in that. It's any place you got ions moving.
We have that here. A lot of limestone in Florida. A lot of coral underneath the dirt, also. So I mean,
we have a lot of limestone caves and all sorts of things here too.
I mean, half the roads, that's what they're built on. They have limestone and then they blacktop them here.
Yeah.
So, it could be anything. It's never happened to me. I don't think it's ever happened. I mean, it's never happened to me. I've seen it happen. I know it happened to DA, right? It happened with what? The audio in the camera once, you said? Your camera drained?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a camera basically just drop off. I also had my cell phone. I was recording with my cell phone. Only time it ever did it, didn't do it before, didn't do it after. Just started randomly overheating and shutting off. And then I had to have my son Noah take over filming with his camera. No issues with his camera, but every time I would try to activate the film feature, the recording feature on my phone, it would overheat and shut off.
Yeah, that's weird. See, you can't explain.
And that was just right a few miles from here at an old Union Civil War graveyard.
It's like we said. Once you see one of these creatures, I didn't believe in none of that. I tell you, I did not believe in this stuff. I used to laugh at people, and I was always out in the woods hunting hog. I would run dogs, and my uncle could tell you I would run dogs every chance I got. I would run hogs with my dogs. So I was always out in the woods, always in the swamp, always, neck deep. Never seen one, never ran into anything. Just happened to be on a swamp buggy one day eating lunch, and I look out, and there it is in the same area I hunt. It changed. It was like, wait a minute. I've been out here all this time. This thing's been walking around near me. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes you aware, it makes you wake up a little bit. Trust me, it does.
It did the same to me when I had my interaction. I was younger too. When the one shadowed me on the way home, I'm like, I grew up as a kid loving monsters and stuff like that, and I'd seen a little thing about Bigfoot. I'm like, as a kid, and then when that happened, I'm like, shit,
right?
That's not meant to be real.
Exactly. You can't explain.
And then having my parents tell me, like, oh, you just saw something, and other people say it's not true. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, shit, monsters are real. Shit, like it's they're out there. Like it's not bullshit.
Right. What does it say? Anthony Ion what? A string of sounds anytime he's with me hunting. Yeah. It's the my dogs, the dogs that we had when I had 2 pit bulls with us didn't even react to it. Didn't even get off the deck.
Wow.
So
they probably knew better. They're like, I'm just going to pretend I don't see that thing and stay up here.
We had 2 blue ticks and 2 pit bulls.
Yeah.
Not four dogs didn't even bother to pick their head up. Not once.
I wouldn't have done that either if I was there. I'd be like, no, I'm staying here.
So, yeah.
Don't draw attention. Don't draw attention.
That's it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it.
Right. So, yeah, we used to find, like I told DA the story, everything comes into play. Everything actually fits now. They would find dogs with their necks broken with tracking collars on them that people's dogs become missing.
Yeah.
We find our, the cooler open, certain things taken out. We thought there were raccoons doing it. Just certain things. Now everything fits. Now everything.
It all adds up. Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh, the dog had his neck broken or somebody did it because it was running on that property. I mean, no. One dog, yeah, but 5, 6 dogs?
No.
Yeah. So it opens your eyes up a lot, man. It really does. You know, people playing jokes, banging on the side of the camper when you're sleeping, when you're out hunting. Oh yeah, I know who did it. And you think somebody did it, and everybody's, oh, I didn't do it. Now everything does fall into place.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to see one that for you to change. It has to change you. That's the whole thing. I mean, people could say all they want about seeing one and encountering one, and believe me, you get face to face with one, it's going to change the outlook of what you think about in life. It really will.
Mm-hmm.
So,
agree, definitely.
Spectrum is still having problems with Robbie's internet. He says,
"Yeah, he's dying to get in." Robbie had something interesting happen to him last night.
Yeah,
in Georgia, but I don't want to go into any details. That's his story to tell. Yeah. But he did have an interesting evening. So I'm hoping he can get on so he can tell the story.
He was with some other person that we know in the community.
Yep.
That's pretty well known. He did have a weird interaction.
I'm picturing him being all twitchy trying to tell the story. I know I would.
I hope he does get on because it's a good one too.
Oh yeah.
Got my juices flowing now.
Well, because he posted it in the co-host chat that night, so we all commented on it. So, and the one night he can't get on his internet, the one night he wouldn't want him, he's supposed to be on his internet goes down. It's a conspiracy, Robbie.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's a conspiracy.
They're watching you, boy. They're watching you. Whatever you're doing, they're watching you.
That's it.
That's it.
I'm looking at the comments to see who's here.
Northwood says, I hope Robbie didn't have an encounter with my ex.
I just seen that. We need to get him on. Northwood, you need to come on, man, and just stay in the background. Don't say anything and just come out with jokes once in a while. That's all you need to do. That's it.
The court jester.
Yeah, that's it. I think it would be hilarious. Oh. But yeah, you guys probably had some. I mean, I'd love to go to Australia or England to go with you guys. I mean, especially Australia. I've always wanted to go there and go.
You got some big pigs over here, man. So
yeah, I always wanted to go there and go.
Have at them. We got plenty to get rid of.
But you can't have firearms there.
Oh well, you can. You just got to get the right. You got to jump through the right bloody hoops, and then if you're lucky enough to find someone who's got a bad pig problem around their property, you just go, "Hey, you got a bad pig problem? I got a gun. Is it cool if I come on your land and shoot?" And then that helps even more because then you've got a permission slip, and you just go, "Hey, I got a gun and permission. You can't tell me to shut up."
There you go, DA. We got to book a trip.
There we go.
Go
bag a big pig.
Your patients are going to have to wait. Sorry.
Get a big razorback.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Listen,
I think we'll have a good time.
Big suckers.
That's still one of my favourite films. That is Razorback. I think it was early '80s. It was made.
I love that. Balls.
Yeah, I've seen that a long time ago.
Yeah, it's great. It's like Jaws on land, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Australian movies, have you guys seen the movie Throwback?
Yes, a long time.
Yeah,
ago.
I think. Yeah. That rings a bell.
Really good one.
Yeah.
What's that? What is it about?
It's a Bigfoot film. Basically, these guys go into the bush looking for a lost treasure and run into this thing.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's a really good film.
Yeah, I've seen that. I also used to. I mean, Mad Max. Come on, Mad Max is a classic.
Oh yeah.
Come on, I mean, really.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Love
Dream
that.
car.
All right, we're getting off subject.
Oh yeah.
Right, sorry, we're getting off subject here.
What subject?
Exactly.
Good point.
What?
Go ahead, Rob. Anthony, go
I
ahead.
was just going to ask them, Tomb, I mean, you've had experiences, I mean, out there. I don't think, I mean, the last time you were on, anybody that's new in the chat, maybe you could tell us again if you want some of your stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, my scariest one, back when I was growing up back home in West Australia, walking home one night, and here's something in the bush. The bush is not too far away from me. It's like just walking down the road,
Right.
and it's late, so also a small town, so nobody's going to be out and about, and the bush is thick too. So, yeah. Then I hear something, and it's heavy. It's not a kangaroo, because you know what kangaroos sound like when they move or they hop. And I'm like, this isn't right. So I'm like, okay. I kept walking, and I noticed. I looked and noticed his eyes.
How old were you then, Tomb? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'd say probably about 13.
Okay.
All right. 13. Yeah, because that's where I was back home then. 13. And I've been out with some friends and stuff like that, and I was walking home late, obviously real late because I was meant to be home earlier. But yeah, I looked, and I'm like, okay, looking, and I looked up, and here's these eyes peering back at me, 7 to 8 feet up.
Wow.
I'm like, right, so I'm going to kind of pretend I didn't see that. You know, the whole, like Robbie said, look what the time is. And I'm like, because the road going down from the what's called at home Kent Street, the road going down there to where my road turns into my road isn't exactly long. But from just before the top, Robbie,
what's up, guys?
G'day.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, that road's not that long. So just before just after the start of the top of the road down, that's when I started to hear movement, and it was shadowing me the whole time. And that's when I'm like I said, I saw it, I heard it. It was heavy as hell, and I just got home. It scared the shit out of me.
Walking on two legs, right? You heard it bipedal.
Yeah, it was a bipedal walk. It was heavy. Like I said, with kangaroos, they either hop, and they do sound like a kind of heavy but it's a jumping motion. And also when a kangaroo kind of push walks, where it pushes down like with its front legs to push its back legs. Right? Yeah. You know, like growing up here, you know those sounds. And this is bipedal, big and heavy. And that's when, like you said, that's for me when I saw all that, it changed, everything changed, because yeah, it was scary as hell. And like I said, I heard knocks and that around there too, which, like I said last time, not knowing that kind of stuff as a kid growing up, this is before internet and stuff. But then looking back at it all now, it makes 110% sense what all that shit was.
No.
So yeah, that's what happened. That's what changed everything for me back then.
Right. Is Jessica? Hey, Jess. There she is. Since we have Robbie on, since everybody's chomping at the bit, Tomb and Leon. Yeah. Why don't you take over, Robbie, and tell us what happened?
All right. So
who you were with?
So Jessica asked me to come down to the Georgia Bigfoot convention, and she took me to one of her hot spots that she and her team investigate on. Went down there during the day yesterday afternoon just to kind of look at it. We went and did the meet and greet last night. Got done with that pretty early, and she said, "Hey, it's going to be a little bit clear tonight. You want to try to go back up there and see if we see any activity?" I said, "Sure." So we go back up there, standing around talking. Bugs are chittering and buzzing, and just nothing's really going on. We'd probably been up there about 30, maybe 40 minutes, somewhere around there. The bugs are just getting louder and louder because we were actually talking at like room level. We weren't whispering or anything. Like I said, nice clear night. hadn't started raining or anything. Well, not wasn't clear. It was overcast. Clouds were over the stars or whatever. But bugs were starting to get louder and louder, which I noticed, and I think Jessica noticed it too. But we just didn't really pay it that much attention. And all of a sudden, it was like somebody cut a light switch off. Everything went dead quiet. I mean, it was like that was so much louder in your ears when they stopped than it was the few seconds before when they were going nuts. But it was just like up here decibel level to non-existent, no sound, nothing. And we both looked at each other and I said, I said, something just came up on us, I believe. She said, yep. She said, I think I feel something over this way. And I was like, I think something's watching us from this way. Well, then she said there's something down on the other side of her car. So we were kind of like triangulated by, felt like at least 3 individuals. So we stood there for probably about 5 more minutes, and we both decided it was probably best to walk back down to the car just so we didn't get cut off from the car. Walked down there and stood for another 5-10 minutes, something like that, maybe. Jessica's looking back towards the road behind us, and I'm looking back up to where we were standing. And as I'm watching that, she was kind of whispering something to me, and I was like, shh. I saw and I don't know how big it was, but it was right up around where we were standing. Big shadow walked from our left to our right, or my left to my right. Don't know what it was because it was a dark shadow, but I saw something walk across in front of us. So that was a pretty intense encounter.
I take it your firearm was in your hand at the time.
Oh yeah. The dagger was in hand, finger indexed above the trigger.
I bet, yeah.
As Hoot would say in Black Hawk Down, this here's my safety.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he texted that in the co-host chat that night. We were all like, okay.
It was very sad because I mean, I've been in the woods when that's happened before, but it's never been that significant. I mean, because I don't know that I've heard insects being that loud before. Right. And just to tell you, it was almost like somebody was turning the volume up because they were just getting louder and louder and louder. And then all of a sudden, the bottom just dropped out of all sound.
She said that in the comment. It went definitely silent. It went so quiet. She said in the comment. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit freaky.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was one of those times where you're just like,
and you hear about that too. People saying that too when they go out in the woods.
Like, man, I feel alive right now because, you know, as DA would say, the lizard brain was yelling and screaming, and I had the hair on the back of my neck was standing up. And I told Jessica, I said, you know, I told you about the feelings I've had of being watched when I go into the place that Johnny and Norm and I go, and she's like, yeah. I said, that's working overtime right now because it was
a brown pants moment.
Well,
no, not really. I mean, I never felt like we were in any kind of danger. I felt like we were being watched, and obviously it was one of those take the time to watch what you're doing moments, but it wasn't like, like Anthony said, I had yes, I know. Somebody's happy to see me be home. But it was one of those moments where, you want to make sure you do everything the right way, but it wasn't like, it was exhilarating. That's how I felt about it.
It woke you up. Definitely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because
JD Smooth wanted to know what's the worst encounter any of us have had. And I think Tomb just told us his worst.
Yeah, that was scary as all.
Leon, what about you, brother?
Mine would be at 3:00 in the morning on a woodland next to Winter Hill. I was out doing an investigation. We were supposed to stay awake all night around the fire. We were using ourselves as bait. And
that's bait? Did
Yeah.
you say Pete? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, you always hear about people having encounters and they're just out there enjoying themselves, aren't they? They're just
Right.
So what we did, one night we decided we'd go and camp out in this area that's renowned for sightings, and just be campers, just out there, and we weren't being quiet. We weren't. We didn't cook any food, did we? No, we didn't. We didn't cook any food. We just had the night there, yapping and talking and backwards and forwards. We were going to stay awake all night, and it started to rain, so we got inside our tents. Now, me and the guy I was with, called Spiro, we'd set up tents where we just had the bug screen set up, and then we had a tarp over the top so we could see all around us in 360s, anything sneaking up, or we could have anything coming. So, like I say, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was asleep, and I heard this noise, and I didn't just hear it. I felt this noise, and I was lying down. I weren't stood up. Obviously, I was asleep on my back, and it was like a noise, but you felt it actually in your rib cage. I thought I was dreaming at first. Sat up, bolt upright, got my phone out and started to record. Didn't catch anything on film, but this noise, it was like an infrasound noise. You could, like I say, you could feel it as well as hear it. And I could tell where it was coming from. It was absolutely scary as shit, because we don't have bang sticks over here, so I had a nice big machete with me. I just grabbed that as quick as I could and I've got this machete in one hand and my phone in the other hand, filming thing, thinking to myself, well, if it's gonna have me, I'm gonna get it on film, whatever happens. But yeah, and then it just went silent. It just went quiet. Whatever it was disappeared. In the morning, we were up, first light. Like I say, it had been raining. We was adamant we were going to get tracks. We were going to find prints. And there was absolutely nothing. Nothing. Not a single thing had been disturbed within like 100 yards radius all around us. Whatever it was, it appeared from nowhere. It made this horrible sound. And then it just disappeared. But that woodland and that area of Winter Hill is renowned for sightings of big black dogs. Also, we've got cats as well, UFOs. Now, whether this was a cat or whether it was a dogman or a werewolf or whatever it was one of the scariest things I've ever, been part of. It was horrendous. It was bad. And luckily for me, I had a audio recorder running, and I caught the actual sound as well on this audio recorder. And we had a trail cam that failed. We didn't catch anything on that. But this sound, it's one of the strangest sounds I've ever heard. It's out there online for people to listen to, and if anyone can put an animal to it, give me a shout, because to this day I still love to know what it is. But then again, maybe I wouldn't like to know what it is because I was nearly its lunch. But yeah, it was a bad one.
Yeah,
I would say so, especially if the only thing separating you from it was a little bit of mosquito netting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's afterwards that you realise, if it was like a puma or something like that, it's still scary to the fact that you had nothing to protect you apart from this big knife-like thing. But it's later on. It's a couple of days later when it finally goes. You nearly got eaten. You nearly something ate you that night. Yeah, and it's freaky thing to put your eyes on something like that, and people tell you about things they've seen. Just hearing it's bad enough. Seeing it must be, well, like PTSD and all things like that. It must be. I couldn't even really imagine it. It must be horrendous.
Mike A. I don't know, DA. You have anything we could throw up for the guys?
I just put the link to his Leon's channel up.
Okay.
You'll just have to look through. I don't know which video exactly it's on, but I posted the link to his channel. Like and subscribe to the channel. You can look through the videos there. I'm sure you can probably find it.
Yeah, you'll find it if you go to. I think most the series is Dogman Werewolf Hunt for Evidence, and there's 18 episodes, and it's probably around about episode 5. But there's little write-ups on there as you go through them. You will get it, and also there's little clips on there of just the audio itself, and just me having a bit of a rabbit on, telling you what went on. But you'll get it. You'll definitely find it. It's not hard to find. It's worth listening to.
Now, Robbie, what do you think your most terrifying encounter was? I mean, I know you've had a couple.
Hands down, the very first one when I was 8 years old. That scared the ever-loving what out of me.
You want to go over that one real quick? Because we've got quite a few new faces in the crowd.
Yeah. Try to give you the Reader's Digest version. Basically, not far from where I'm at right now. My great-grandfather used to own all this land. It's sold off now, and there's houses and trailers, everything. But it used to be a lot of farm and pasture. There was a big swamp and a big back pasture where he kept all his cows during the day. He'd turn them out into the back pasture. Well, back then people used to sit on the front porch and talk, and there wasn't a whole lot of there was no internet, no such thing as that. But I was sitting in the house in my great grandparents' house watching TV, watching some show or whatever. My parent or my mom, my grandmother, grandfather, great grandmother, great grandfather were sitting out on the front porch talking. And as the show finished, I got up to turn the TV off, to go outside and watch them. And I've told this story I don't know how many times, and I still never to this day have I figured out what made me turn and look to the right. It's an old farmhouse. I was sitting in the front room, or in the den rather, not the front room, but the den. The kitchen was attached right next to it. The little mudroom / back porch, however you want to call it, with a water heater and all that stuff was right next to that. So we're probably talking, I think, 12 to 14 feet away. However big standard rooms were, just in an old farmhouse that was built back in probably, I'd say it was probably built in 1940 something, old farmhouse. Well, back then, there was no bulldozers that come in and leveled it out, and the house wasn't sitting on a piece of level land. So, this side of the house or the land is higher up than this side. So they just get those cement blocks, stack them up, and level the house out that way. So the back porch was pretty good ways off the top of the ground, or off the ground. Had one of the big block set of steps that you used to go get up to the back door. So the bottom of the back door is probably 5 feet off the ground. So the middle of that metal storm door, you're probably talking, what I say, dear, probably like 8-9 feet with the middle of that door.
Something like that. Yeah, I think that's what you said it was.
So as I look over to the right, I look and something is bent down. Its head is barely underneath the top of that door, but it's bent down looking into the door at me. And it had the conical shaped head And I'm sitting there looking, trying to figure out what in the world I'm looking at. And, to me, in my mind, it was taking like hours or whatever. This is seconds, really. And as I'm looking at it, it starts. So I'm like, is that my reflection? So when it would go this way, I would go the opposite way to look at it. And it just totally back and forth the opposite direction that I was going. And all of a sudden it was like, almost like I said a minute ago, with that light switch going off. It was just instantaneous. I was just like, and it just registered with me that I was looking at a monster. That was the term that I remember thinking in my head, monster. And I know the term Bigfoot was floating around in there too, but immediately it was monster. So long story short, I go running out on the front porch, screaming and crying. I was probably 8 years old. My stepdad was a deputy sheriff for the county that we lived in. No cell phones back then. So I'm screaming at my mom to call my dad. I want my dad. I want my dad. I want my dad. And if I can't get my dad, get my uncle. My uncle was 6'5", probably 350 pounds, played football. There was, in my mind, nobody could mess with my uncle or my dad. This is, how it is when you're a kid. So back then, like I said, no cell phones, no pagers, no anything like that. So mom had to call dispatch, say, hey, I need you to get Sergeant Constance on the phone or get him on the radio. He needs to call me right now. So, has to go into dispatch. Dispatch has to call dad. Dad had to drive somewhere to a phone if he was, depending on what part of the county they had him working in, call, and then come from wherever he's at to wherever we are. So you're talking probably anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour from her calling to him actually getting there. And Mike, this is in South Carolina in Pickens County back in the early 80s. So long story short, while we're waiting on Dad to get there, she gets in touch with my uncle. My uncle comes down there. He comes up, I went through the story, told him what was going on. I'm still just inconsolable. So my uncle says, I'm going to show you. He goes out and stands on the middle step or the second step down from the top. He said, see that you just saw a reflection. And I told him, I said, no. I said, its head was about 2 feet above where her head's at. And like I said, he was 6'5". So his head was almost probably at the top of the door, but it was bent down like this looking in. And I still couldn't see all the top of its head. So, yeah, being an 8-year-old kid, and I saw Boggy Creek not long after that. And I was like, that's what I told my stepdad. I said, that's what I saw.
That's it, man.
Yeah, that's terrifying, man.
Yeah.
That's a never want to go take the garbage out after dark again, that kind of moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I used to feed my dog at when it was dark. That was my dog got a new feeding time after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, early times.
Anybody else? Anybody? Bueller?
I can gladly say that fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have any of those experiences to share. I'm scared death listening to y'all.
You almost did.
We came damn close.
Yeah. You actually peed on one.
Well, that situation though, I was blissfully unaware that it was occurring. So there was no experience.
They're always the best ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
He had no idea it was even there until he
nearly got his tallywhacker.
Yeah, until he turned around and went home and looked at the photo, and years later, somebody made a comment, and there it was on the photo.
Yeah, apparently, if you're trying to keep yourself safe while looking for cryptids, don't bring a middle-aged diabetic who's going to be pissing on the trees.
He probably thought to himself, I'm not messing with him. No, I'm definitely not messing with him. He's not bothered at all.
Steps up too high in sugar. We're leaving.
Yeah.
He thinks I sound traumatic now. He ought to heard me tell it like I told it the first few times I told it on here. I'm not nowhere near as traumatic as I was.
Yeah, you kind of come to grips with it a little bit over the last year or so, but that first time you told me the story, you were pretty shook up.
All right.
I'd like to make and that's something that you and Anthony and I talked about, and I've probably talked about it with Toom on a couple times. The more I've told the story, and I truly think that me seeing it at the age I saw it is what helped me to be able to adjust and cope with it. If I'd have been Anthony's age, like he was when he saw his, I wouldn't have handled it as good as Anthony handles his.
I didn't. But it wasn't traumatic to me. My brain wasn't really until like I said, it wasn't traumatic. It didn't threaten me. It didn't do what it did to you.
That's what I'm saying. If I'd have had my encounter at the age that you had, right, I wouldn't have been able to handle it as good as I handle it. But having that time to process it when you're a kid and you can still kind of accept stuff like that, that's helped me out a lot. But the fact that I had to hold it in for almost 40 years, that's why it was the first couple of times I told it, because I never talked about it to anybody except my family who was, most of them were there. My stepdad wasn't there because he was out working, but I would tell it to him. But I never talked about it with anybody except families. The first time I talked to DA about it and told him that story, that was the first time I told that story from start to finish in probably, 35, 40 years. Yeah. So it was, and then told it on the air the second time I told it in that long amount of time with Anthony and DA. I mean, so yeah, it was pretty traumatic then. But the more I've gotten to talk about it and get it out in the open, I still in my brain, just like last night when Jessica and I were out there, that same feeling washed over me that I had for a split second. I was that 8-year-old boy standing in my great grandparents' house.
You were back there again,
I was when those insects stopped and that hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was that 8-year-old boy standing in that house again. Mm-hmm. So I had to man up real quick and say, okay, this is all right. We good.
Yeah, that's
here we go.
It did help that you had a gun this time.
Yeah.
Yes, Steve. That's a very good point. I didn't have that last time.
No.
Did not have the great equalizer.
When we had that, we're doing that video, that was my closest thing to an experience. I was carrying a pistol, but I never felt any danger because I didn't pick up on anything. And then in retrospect, it's probably best I didn't, because I doubt the pistol would have done much to anything that big and intimidating.
Yeah, I don't think the two of us were carrying enough firepower to done more than pissed it off.
We were basically armed for turkey, not Dogman.
Well, we were armed for the Greater North American Meth Head, not Dogman.
That is true. The last time that DA and I and our respective wives went out, we were down in Eureka Springs, and we were at this little tourist attraction, and there were some wild turkeys walking around. And my wife thought it'd be funny to call to the Toms to try bring him in close to us. And we're like, it's probably not a good idea, honey. And she looks at us, she goes, "You got pistols?"
That's I don't think we're going to be explaining to Eureka PD why we're up here, cutting down on a bunch of wild turkeys.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, it's hard to shoot 9mm at a turkey, really. I mean, come on.
Last time I cut down a wild turkey, I don't remember what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it have a screw top?
Yeah. Being there.
I cannot drink that stuff to this day. I got so sick on it. Oh. Whew. But anyway, yeah, my experience, man, it wasn't traumatic for me. I had a high-powered rifle. My buddy was with me. He had one. We had 4 dogs. I just happened to look up, and like I said, how I noticed it, it just turned its head. And I was watching it through the scope, and it didn't compute right away. It didn't. I thought somebody was playing a joke, and then I got really close in on its face, And then the rest of the body, I was like, yeah, no. But, you know, it was kind of like, how can I put it? You know, when something happens to you when you're with somebody and you can't believe it's happening and you just like, it's real quiet and you're like,
Yeah.
That's the moment that we had. We were like we couldn't explain it. But everybody at camp that we told, it was like nothing to them. Oh yeah, they're out here. We're like, what? Like it's like it was normal for them.
Yeah.
You know, oh yeah, they're around all the time. As long as you don't bother them, they don't bother you. I'm like,
at that point, I would have been yelling at people. Why the hell didn't you tell me?
Tell me.
Exactly. Thanks for the freaking heads up, jackass.
You couldn't bloody tell me about it first. Like,
right. That's how they acted. I mean, we got guys out there that lived out there all their lives, generation after generation. Yeah. To them, it's normal. They get told stories by their grandfathers, their dads. You know, I'm only out there maybe 4 months out of the year. You know, even though we lived in the area, I moved in with my buddy that lived in the area. Still, you know, okay, they exist, but you guys, you know, when were you going to tell us? You know, and that to them is normal. So, you know.
Yeah, a question from Robert D. Ant. He wants to know how tall you thought it was.
Mine, I would say about 8 to 9 foot from what I estimated. It was pretty big, but it wasn't overly big. It had like his body was almost like Batista. If you took the hair off of the wrestler,
that's what I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And he looked like that. He was really defined. You could see it wasn't hairy. He was hairy, but you could see through the hair. You know, you could see the muscles and stuff. And it looked more, like I said, Indian, Native American, and Aboriginal. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
You know, with that flat nose. Mm-hmm. It looked like a caveman almost to me.
Like this one?
Yeah. Similar. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, more like that. That's what it looked like, more like that. But it was just, there you go. That's what it looked like. I mean, there's so many. The eyes were in more. The eyes were sunk in more. Bigger eye bridge across the top. But I mean, the hair was in its face. You could see the hair in its face. So if it was somebody playing a trick, they did a good job of it. But, you know, why would you be running around in something like that out there during peak season when you got rifles and pit bulls running around?
Way to get shot.
Or they got blew away.
Right. So obviously it is common out there, and a lot of the sightings in Florida are in West Palm Beach in this one area. And, you know, we know a couple of people that do research out there. And they look the same thing. It looks like the same thing I've seen that they drew and accounted. So, and I've said my story first, and then they came out and they were like, yep, that's exactly what we've seen. It looked like a caveman. It looked like this. And so there's a couple of people on YouTube that have sites that actually encounter these things out there in Palm Beach. So I'm not the only one.
I think the most terrifying experience I've had, and I've had a couple of near brushes, including a visual sighting of one in LBL. But the night before, no, it was 2 nights before my visual sighting in LBL, I went to a place called DeMumbers Bay in the Land Between the Lakes. And it's a very remote, rugged camping area. It's primitive camping. There's no electrical hookups or anything like that. Well, there was nobody camping in that area, and it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning. It was pretty late. And I parked my vehicle where one of the boat launches is, where you can back a trailer down and launch a boat into the lake. And I parked the van there, and I walked down that little launch down to the edge of the water. And then I followed the shore of the lake about 30, 40 yards down the shore of the lake, where I was, away from the campground, where it was just woods around me. And I don't know what possessed me to think this was probably a good idea, but I called up predator prey calls on my phone, particularly the one that you used to call in coyotes, what we call dying rabbit or screaming rabbit. And I played that, and I didn't have like a Bluetooth speaker or anything like that. It was just coming off the speaker of my phone. But acoustics work really weird over water, especially at night. Don't know why it does that, but acoustics is very different over water. Again, especially when it's dead quiet, and there's patchy clouds, kind of like what's behind me on my green screen. The moon was out, and I could kind of hear that call kind of echo out over the water, even though it wasn't really loud. But it just seemed to travel, and I heard something coming toward me from two different directions in the woods behind me. And I realized I was out there, one, unarmed, because you're not supposed to carry a firearm in LBL, and two, nobody knew where I was at. Not even my wife. My wife and my son were back at the condo. I'd just gone exploring on my own. So nobody knew where I was at. I wasn't armed, and I was 40, 50 yards from my vehicle. And that's when I really started to get that, you probably shouldn't be here a moment. And I could hear whatever it was coming toward me was coming from two different directions. And it was moving quickly, and it sounded bipedal, both directions. I could hear it coming through the trees. So I hustled down the shore of the lake, and then went back up that boat ramp and got in my van, fired it up, locked the doors, flipped the headlights on, and I started backing out. And as I swung my headlights back through the trees, there were not two, but three sets of eye shine back in the trees. Not close enough where I could see what they were, but there was three sets of eye shine, and they were fairly high off the ground. That was probably the most terrifying experience I've ever had, because I don't know what those were, but I could definitely tell they were big and they were moving on two legs. I wish I'd had video of that, but I was using my phone to play the sound and didn't even think about recording it. Wanted to go back there again once Nick got there, Nick Valente. And we just didn't end up doing it. We went to a couple other places and played some other audio in other areas, but I never got another reaction like I did when I was alone at Demumbers Bay. And come to find out, about 6 months after I was there, I found out that supposedly in 1974, a couple was killed right there in Demumbers Bay by what they believe was a Dogman creature. So within 20 yards of where I was standing. So it was one of those moments that as Doc would call it, a brown pants moment. And I didn't slow down until I got back to the condo, but I had the absolute feeling that I was being hunted, and it was pretty terrifying.
Excuse me, sorry.
Oh, yeah, give William Nighthawk is the one that sent me those pictures. I forgot to mention that earlier. William, thank you for sending those. Those are fantastic pictures.
Yeah, several lines up the chat. William made a comment about when I made my idiot with a YouTube channel and a mic and a camera, and he goes, wait, never mind. I love him to death.
I want to go back to that spot in Demumbers Bay, but I won't go alone, and I won't go unarmed. And next time I'm going to take a Bluetooth speaker that will pump out the volume a little more than just my cell phone. Hopefully, if I've got someone else along, I'll have them record while I'm playing the audio. There we go, Robbie. I want to do the audio. I want to do the predator call there at Demumbers Bay, and I want to do it at Werewolf Springs.
Yep.
I think both of those places would be a good place to try predator calls.
Well, you better bring somebody with you that moves slower than you do, because otherwise you might have a problem.
Well, I'm not planning on running. I'm not much of a runner. I was never fast in my prime, but I will lay down an impressive volley of fire on the way back to the vehicle.
There'd be a lot of flash and bang as you de-ass the area. Huh?
I will certainly ruin my night vision.
Yep. What if you can get flashbangs on Amazon? You can get everything else on Amazon.
Now you might.
Well, you can fully bypass planes. Yeah.
There's going to be so much flashing going on. People across the bay are going to think somebody's throwing a rave over there.
That's the cover. It's a rave.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be to the beat of Darude's Sandstorm.
That might catch on.
It might.
I'm picturing somebody, playing to the cadence of YYZ.
Here we go.
What was the name of the band? Can't think of the band that did that song.
I can't either. Not off the top of my head.
Is it Rush? Maybe. I just remember the song's in like 13/8 time signature, so it's so bizarre. It's the nearly undanceable music.
I can't remember.
I think it is Rush.
That's funny.
Yeah. Got any pills, mate?
They'll have glow sticks and yeah.
It's the guy in the fur coat over there. He's got all you want.
Yeah.
They can be the bait. You can lure them in with the sounds. They can be the bait with their glow sticks, and you go, "Oh, look, there's the evidence."
That's an idea, isn't it?
There you go.
When I was in the Army, we used to take pocket knives and slice open the glow sticks and like rub the glowing shit all over our face and freak people out.
Yeah.
Go stick your face in somebody's tent. Yeah, someone will definitely have a brown face moment of a green glowing face appears in their tent.
No, thank you.
Boys, we are coming up on the top of the second hour. I will start wrapping things up because I know Leon, it's dark 30 for you and Tombs. What time of the day is it for you? Mid-afternoon?
It's just about to hit 1 p.m. So it's late lunchtime.
Well, we'll start wrapping things up. I don't want to keep Leon too late because there's no ways he's going back to sleep considering the impressive volume of Red Bull he's put away.
No. He'll be awake for a while.
Leon will be laying in bed like.
Yeah.
He's got pupils at different intervals.
He's got that little bear in the car at the circus riding around the circle.
Yeah.
I'm on the lemonade now.
Leon, thank you for joining us, brother. We really appreciate you joining us, brother. I know, we had to get up in the middle of the night to hang out with us, and we definitely going to do it again. Love having you on, brother. It's always a pleasure. And folks, make sure you go check out his channel. Show him some love and support because he's got a fantastic channel. He puts out great content all the time. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. You're definitely gonna enjoy this stuff. Enjoy his stuff. You want to tell us a little bit about your show, where to find it before you leave, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, you'll catch me here on YouTube. YouTube's really the best place to catch most of my full length videos and things like that. Facebook as well, I'm on there. But there's loads of minutes worth of watching on there. It's not just theorizing about things. It's actually out there, feet on the ground, getting shit up to the nines and getting in with it. It's, I hope you guys will like it. And it's a little bit different because it's a crazy guy in England running around with a knife and fork thinking he's safe. But there you go. Yeah, get out and have a look me up and give me a thumbs up and all that lot. And I hope you all like it.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, brother. And Tomb, thank you for joining us. Like I said, it's really kind of awesome to me that, even, when I was a younger man, this kind of technology just didn't exist. That we can have a round robin conversation with people in not only 3 widely different time zones, but 3 different continents at the same time. So I really enjoyed being able to do this kind of show, and I definitely want to do it again. And Tim, you bring a great perspective, and I appreciate everything you do, brother. Thank you so much for all the work you do as a mod, and for being part of the family here at DAX Machina. And I also want to say thank you to all the moderators, because you guys do an awesome job. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. And before we log out for the night, we're going to take a couple minutes of your time to talk about our affiliate links. But I wanted to thank everybody and let everybody know that we appreciate each and every one of you guys so much. So before we head out, I think we'll take a quick moment to talk about our affiliates. Robbie, if you'd like to talk about Scallywag, I will go ahead and bring that up.
Sure. Scallywag Tactical makes some of the best knives, fixed blade folders, kitchen knives, fillet knives for your tackle box. They just make good knives. Anthony and I constantly talk about how good these blades are. Most of them say 420 or 440 stainless steel or 420 stainless. I can't remember which one it is, but there's got to be some other kind of, because I've never seen any knives, every one of them, that hold an edge like these knives. This is the Orca. This only one I've got right here in front of me right now, because I still haven't unpacked from coming back from Georgia, and all the rest of them with me. That's the Jolly Roger that DA's got over, the black one. I've got the blue version of that. They got the fixed blades. They got the Gunner's Mate, the Bounty, the Dewclaw, which is being discontinued. That's the sailor-assisted folder that DA's got. It'd be the Gunner's Mate that Anthony's about to pull out. These knives are just phenomenal. They've got a thing called blemish blades, and most of the time that is just, there's something wrong with the box and they can't sell it new. This was a blemish blade. There's nothing wrong with it. The Dewclaw that Anthony got me for Christmas was a blemish blade. Nothing wrong with it. Anthony's got pretty much, I think the Gunner's Mate you just pulled up was a blemish too, wasn't it, Anthony?
Yeah, it was.
Good thing about that is if you go use that code DA Roberts 10 at checkout, any of those blemish blades that you want to get at a very, very good price point, like the Jolly Roger that DA just held up, that's a $45 knife. I got mine at $10, and I got my sailor assisted folder at $15, which was so I got two $45 knives for $25, and with code DA Roberts 10 at checkout, I ended up paying $26 for both those knives. So the discount works, the blemish blade sale works, and there's nothing wrong with those knives at all. So go see them, tell them we sent you. We don't get any kickbacks from it. We just really, Craig's got a great company that we just, we like it, we support it because it's a good company and they make a good quality product.
Yeah, they do.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, let me change over to the other banner, and we'll let the little guy himself talk about the other one. So we will have a word from Doc himself.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DAX Machina with DA Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
And if you use that discount code Cryptid25, you'll get 25% off your entire order. They have what's called the Kit for Life guarantee. If you use that kit to save a life, including your own, they will resupply the kit for free for life. To me, that's just peace of mind. I carried one of their trauma kits on my duty belt as a cop for years, and I can't imagine trusting my life to a better kit. So definitely check them out. And both companies are veteran-owned companies. We're big supporters of our veteran-owned companies here, as well as supporters of the 22 a Day Foundation, which we all know 22 veterans a day take their own life by suicide, and we want to try to get that number down to 0. I'm a huge supporter of the 22 a Day Foundation, and if you can check them out on their website, or also at the Valhalla Project. Both are very big into veterans charities, and the money goes to help support veteran suicide, help to get people the help they need, and I hope you'll keep that in mind. Again, folks, keep a few folks in your prayers tonight. Doc had a family emergency. Again, I don't want to go too terribly much into it without his permission, but he is flying out of Denver International, heading back to Georgia by the quickest means possible. Is something, he had a very bad event happen in his family. Keep William Nighthawk in your prayers as well. He's still going through his struggles with cancer. And Pat Canada, who's a longtime member of the channel, she's still dealing with health issues. And keep Miss Lene, Miss Lene in your prayers. Her health is getting better, but she's still got a ways to go to recovery. So keep her in your prayers as well. And I want to again say thanks to our guests tonight. We have just an awesome time tonight hanging out. I appreciate each and every one of you guys so much. And hope you guys will tune in this coming Wednesday night, when we will have the guys from the Strange Road will be back. So another great evening with Mikey and Bub from the Strange Road will be this Wednesday night, and next Saturday night will be Cameron Buckner from Dixie Cryptid. So hope you guys will be tuning in for those. We've got some great shows lined up here in the near future. And we appreciate each and every one of you guys for hanging out and spending your Saturday evening with us. And again, swing by, do it Noel's way. Show them, give them a like, share, and subscribe, and show them some love and let them know we sent you. And again, thank you guys for spending your evening with us. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.